What I'm about to tell you today will make your heart race, your face turn pale, and you might find yourself glancing at the corners of your room, listening closely to every small sound around you. So if you're ready to play with fear tonight, keep listening to this story slowly. I know you're probably thinking that you've heard many horror stories before, but today's story is different. This is one that will not let you sleep through the night. So are you ready? Do you have the courage to listen to this story till the end? If yes, then fasten your seatbelt, because after this story, the way you think will change forever. So let's begin. The topic of our video today is a secret palace, so let's start this video. It was a cloudy afternoon when Aman stepped off the rickety bus that brought him back to Ranipur, the small village he'd left behind nearly a decade ago. The road was dustier than he remembered, the sky more grey, the silence thicker. Ranipur had always felt like a forgotten place, but now it looked like it had surrendered to time completely. The last time he'd walked these roads, he was a boy of 15, his mind full of dreams and heart full of frustration. Now at 25, the world had carved lines of worry and thought across his face. He was no longer the rebellious teen who had sworn never to return. But fate has a strange way of pulling us back to the places we try hardest to forget. His mother's illness had been the final tug. The letter had come a week ago, scrawled in her fading handwriting. Aman Beta, I miss you. I am not well. Please come home. That was all it took. He carried only a duffel bag, his laptop, and the unfinished manuscript of the novel he had been writing. He wanted to write about horror, not cheap thrills, but true dread. What he didn't know was that he was walking straight into his own horror story. The path to his house took him past the old well, the banyan tree, and finally the dusty iron gates of the Black Mansion. The mansion stood like a curse cast in stone. 3 stories high, its windows were shattered, walls weather-beaten, and the black paint had peeled off like a shedding skin. No one had lived there in years. The last owner, Aman's grandfather, had died under strange circumstances. Some said it was suicide. Others whispered darker theories. Aman paused outside the gates. Something compelled him to stare. The rusted sign still hung crookedly. Kala Mahal, the Black Mansion. Even the name sounded like a death sentence. He turned away quickly and walked to his own house, a much smaller structure tucked behind a line of neem trees. His mother was waiting at the door, thinner than he remembered. Her eyes dull but still full of love. You came, she whispered, wrapping him in a frail embrace. That night, as the wind howled and the ceiling fan creaked overhead, Aman found himself unable to sleep. He sat at his desk and opened the drawer where he had hidden his old childhood belongings. Among faded notebooks and broken pencils, he found a leather-bound diary, his grandfather's. Most pages were filled with strange sketches, symbols, rituals, star charts. But on the last page, in trembling handwriting, was a note. If someone finds this, beware. Ruhi is still trapped inside. She never left the Black Mansion. The name chilled Aman to his core. Ruhi, the girl from the stories, the one villagers said had disappeared inside the mansion. Some said she was a ghost. Some said she was never real. But his grandfather had believed in her, believed enough to warn someone decades later. Sleep was impossible after that. Around midnight he heard it, a woman's scream. It came from the direction of the mansion. He rushed to the window and stared into the night. The mansion's windows were dark, broken, all except one, the 3rd floor, the center window. It glowed faintly, like a dying ember. The 3rd floor window of the Black Mansion glowed faintly, flickering like a candle fighting the wind. Aman stared, frozen. The scream had faded, but its echo still rang inside his chest. He wasn't the kind to believe in ghosts, not really. But something about that light, that sound, and that name in the diary made the night feel heavier than before Ruhi. He remembered the name. As a child, he'd heard whispers about her, a girl who once lived in the mansion, or had died there, or had never been born at all. The stories changed depending on who told them, but they all agreed on one thing. No one ever saw her again after that night. The next morning, Aman couldn't shake the unease. The diary sat on his desk like a trap. He flipped through the pages again. One line stood out now more than the rest. If I fail to free her, she will remain, and so will the curse. Curse? There was no signature, but the writing was definitely his grandfather's. The sketches in the book were symbols, old, almost occult in nature. Circles inside circles, written in a language Aman didn't understand. But one drawing caught his eye. It looked like a mirror, cracked in the center with a girl's face drawn inside it. Around it the words, "The mirror sees her still." He shoved the diary into his bag and left the house, ignoring his mother's call for breakfast. The villagers stared at him as he passed. Some nodded, most looked away. It was as if he carried something on his shoulders, something that made people uncomfortable. He walked straight to the mansion gates. They creaked as he pushed them open. The weeds reached his knees. Crows burst out from the overgrown trees above as he stepped through the forgotten garden. The air was cold, too cold for an Indian summer. Inside, the air was thick with dust and mildew. The floor creaked with every step. He walked through the rooms slowly. Drawing room, hallway, kitchen, all abandoned, all decayed. Then he found the stairs. Each step groaned in protest. When he reached the third floor, he saw the hallway was darker than the rest, as if the shadows here breathed. At the end of the hallway stood a door painted black. Unlike the rest of the house, this door had no dust, no cobwebs, as if someone had just cleaned it. He touched the handle. It turned smoothly. Inside was a small room, and in the center of it stood a full-length mirror. It was covered in a white sheet. Aman's breath caught. He stepped forward and slowly peeled the sheet off. The mirror was cracked, exactly like the sketch in the diary. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around. Nothing. When he turned back to the mirror, a girl was standing in it. Long black hair, pale face, white dress. But when he looked behind him, the room was empty. "Ruhi," he whispered. The girl in the mirror smiled, a slow, unnatural smile, and then lifted her hand to touch the glass from inside. Aman stumbled back. His heart thundered. But something else caught his eye. There was something written on the mirror now in fog. "Come find me." Suddenly, the light above him shattered. The mirror cracked further. And then, silence. Aman ran. Out of the room, down the stairs, out into the sunlight. But the shadows followed him. That night, back in his room, he didn't sleep. He stared at the mirror in his own room, expecting her to appear again. She didn't. But the next morning when he woke, there were footprints down on the floor, small bare feet leading to the mirror. And the diary, it had new writing in it, in a different handwriting. "The first key is beneath her tears. Go to the well. Midnight."